Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into my Saturday video on my YouTube channel. As everybody knows, I'm going to be doing my week 2 preview, diving into all the games that are going to start tomorrow and on Monday night. I also do give my little quick, not really a recap, but my quick takeaways from that Thursday night matchup. So let's just go ahead and dive into today's video. Starting with that Thursday night matchup. The football team barely squeezed out that win against the Giants, 30-29. Football team's now sitting at a 1-1 record. The Giants are sitting at an 0-2 record. So that's not great for the Giants, right? Because obviously, the stats say if you start 0-2, it's going to be a lot harder to make the playoffs at the end of the year. And they also lost one of their linemen, Nick Gates. He suffered a fractured left leg injury, so he's out for the foreseeable future. That's already one of their weaker points on that team, and they just lost one of their starters, and I believe he's a captain as well, if I'm remembering that right. So that is a big loss for the Giants. They're going to have to hope that some of their young guys can step up their play. Just sticking on with the Giants, I thought Daniel Jones showed some good things. Saquon Barkley, you could tell he's still working his way out back from that torn ACL, but I think that little 4-yard scamper showed that he's kind of finally getting towards the positive side of his return. And then it's just like the Giants should have won that game, right? Like, you can call that dumb holding penalty they call in the wide receiver on that long run by Daniel Jones. While Darius Slayton should have caught that ball. Now there's some debate if Dexter Lawrence did jump off sides or not. Regardless, you still got to be patient in that type of situation, especially at the end of the game. But yeah, Giants are sitting at an 0-2 record. They are going to have to turn things around fast. Otherwise, this could be a very ugly season in New York, and you can already hear the New York media and those rabid Giants fans calling for Joe Judge's head. So we'll have to see what they do going forward. As far as the Washington football team, Taylor Heineke put on a good performance. He kind of put a foot in my mouth when I said I don't know about this kid, but he did show some good. He just showed some good things, but he also was oversailing balls. It wasn't like he was a perfect player, but you got to give him credit. 2-minute warning, the final minutes of the game, he was able to work his team down into that field goal range so they can kick that field goal and win the game. He delivered that ridiculous throw to Ricky Seals-Jones on the back right corner of the end zone. So he showed some good things, and if he can just do that week in and week out and kind of improve as a passer, not have so many balls go over his wide receivers' heads, this could be the team that probably will win, can compete with the Cowboys in the NFC East, especially now that the Cowboys are dealing with a lot of injuries themselves. So, I'm looking at this division between those two, and we'll have to see. Maybe the Eagles are there. They looked good last week, but that was against the Falcons. But the football team definitely showed some promising things on Thursday Night Football that they can build upon. They just need to get that defense, the back end of that defense to get a little bit improved. And they need to get some their front defensive four to get some more pressure, because it was kind of surprising to see that they didn't get to Daniel Jones as much as I thought they could on Thursday. And then just to go ahead and put a bow on the Thursday night game, as everybody knows, I give out my prospect encyclopedia player of Thursday Night Football. It was some debate for me. I liked myself some Antonio Gibson, but he wasn't really involved. He only got 13 carries. They should have actually got him more involved, but he was effective. I think he averaged 5.2 yards per carry. But I was I didn't know if he really made that much of an impact on the game. I was thinking about Benjamin St-Juste. He showed up in the fourth quarter, showing some good games, but he kind of had an up and down game in the first 3 quarters. Even though this guy didn't get too many snaps, I think he got 27 snaps. I was just still impressed anytime he was on the field. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to him. It's their first round pick from this past draft, Jamin Davis. I thought he had some good things. He only had 4 tackles. 3 of those were solo. But I thought he showed some really good things in coverage at times throughout the day, throughout the night whenever he was on the field. They need to get him on the field more. I don't know why he's not playing over John Bostic. He's a lot better of an athlete and a lot better of a coverage linebacker compared to John Bostic. And the one play that stuck out to me was, I believe it was a it might have been 3rd and 10, maybe a 3rd and 7. The Giants were at the 10-yard line, and he was on coverage on Sterling Shepard. Now, Sterling Shepard is a really good route runner. He's really shifty in open space. But in coverage, Jamin Davis was able to stick on his hip, and he was able, even though the pass was completed, he was right there to make the tackle and stop the Giants short of the sticks, and they had to settle for a field goal. Any other, and I don't want to say any other linebacker, but like most linebackers that are maybe not that great in that coverage, what they do is Sterling Shepard gets a lot more space on them compared to what Davis did, and Shepard has enough space where they can juke a linebacker and dive for that first down. But since Jamin Davis was right on his hip the whole time, he was able to make that stationary tackle on Sterling Shepard. That was the play of the day, play of the night for Jamin Davis, in my opinion. So he's my Prospect Encyclopedia player of Thursday Night Football. If you wish to learn more about the Prospect Encyclopedia, go to prospectencyclopedia.com. You can read all about it. You can get the entire PDF for only $15. If you're just a Giants fan, you're just a football team fan, or any of the other NFL team fans, you can get an individual team PDF for $1. The Bucks PDF is free to download if you want to check it out and see if it's something you want to purchase as well. So go to prospectencyclopedia.com to check that out. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the rest of the Week 2 matchups. As always, what I do is I start with the 1 p.m. games, move to the 4 p.m. games, Sunday Night Football, and then Monday Night Football. So if anybody wants to skip around to their team's games, you can try to guess where your team will be talked about. But let's go ahead and get this moving. We got the Las Vegas Raiders traveling out to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's start with the injury reports on the Raiders. They're pretty banged up following that overtime win on Monday night. These following 5 players are out for tomorrow. Richie Incognito with a calf, Josh Jacobs with a toe and ankle, Nick Kwiatkowski with a concussion, Marcus Mariota with a quad, Roderick Teamer with an ankle, and then these 3 players are questionable. Carl Nassib with a pectoral and toe, Yannick Ngakoue with a hamstring, and Darius Philon with a knee injury. And then on the Steelers side, Carlos Davis has been ruled out with a knee injury. These 3 players are questionable. Joe Hayden with a groin, Devin Bush with a groin, and then Zach Gentry with an ankle. As far as this matchup, Steelers are coming off that huge win against the Bills last week. So they're going to be looking to carry that momentum into their home opener on tomorrow. And then you got the Raiders, who are coming off that huge win against the Ravens in that crazy overtime game. But obviously, like I mentioned, they're really banged up. They're coming off an overtime game on a short week, and they're traveling from the West Coast out there to Pittsburgh. So that's not really setting them up for success, definitely, in this game. As far as like how I can feel this game going out, I think the Ravens showed that you can still run on this Raiders defense. So I think we're going to see a nice little healthy dose of Najee Harris. I can see this being Najee Harris's breakout game on Sunday in the NFL. I think he could put on a good performance. And then I think you're going to see that's going to allow Big Ben to be more effective with his throws. That's going to allow some play action plays to happen where you can hit a Deontay Johnson in stride, a Juju in the short intermediate routes, and hit a guy like Chase Claypool deep. I think they're going to be able to move the ball pretty easily on this Raiders defense and be in scoring position more times than not. And on the opposite side, the Raiders offense, they did show somewhat of good things. It was really an inconsistent night. Like some drives, Derek Carr was just oversailing balls, only targeting Darren Waller. And then some drives he was looking really good, right? That's basically has been his whole career, in my opinion. So obviously you just want to see some more consistency out of that Raiders offense. Now they are going to be missing Josh Jacobs, so it's going to be Kenyon Drake. I don't really think Kenyon Drake's going to wear and tear that Steelers defensive front. So I think that Steelers defensive front is going to get after Derek quite often. We saw the Ravens get after him quite often this past Monday night. So Derek's probably going to be running for his life. And as always, anytime he's under pressure, that's when his bad play usually comes up. But I would like to see them get more Henry Ruggs more involved. They finally got him going late in that game. And same thing with Bryan Edwards. They need to get Ruggs and Edwards going early in that game. And that's also going to help out open up things for Darren Waller. Other than that, let's go ahead and wrap this up. My prediction, I think the Steelers are going to win. I think it's just the Raiders are too banged up. They came off an overtime game on a Monday night. I think they're probably going to come out slow. I think the Steelers are going to jump out to a big lead early, and then the Raiders are just going to be trying to claw back throughout the game, and it's just not going to be enough. I got the Steelers winning like a 24-17 win tomorrow. So let's just go ahead and keep this moving. We got the 49ers traveling out to Philadelphia to face the Eagles. Let's start with the injury report. Dre Greenlaw is out for 4 to 8 weeks with a groin injury. Emmanuel Mosley is doubtful with a knee. And then these three players are questionable. Javon Kinlaw with a knee, Marcel Harris with an oblique, and then Eric Armstead with an adductor. And then on the Eagles side, Rodney McLeod is out with a knee injury, and Marcus Epps is questionable with a concussion. Starting with the Eagles, their offense, obviously they showed some, they were able to move the ball against that Falcons defense, but this will be a lot tougher with the 49ers. Now, I will say this, the 49ers are pretty banged up on defense right now. I just mentioned Greenlaw's out for some time. They lost Jason Verrett for the season. Emmanuel Mosley's doubtful, so he's probably not going to play. We saw last week with Javon Kinlaw, he was not playing last week. He's questionable this week. And if he can't go tomorrow, that's going to open up things in that middle of the defense where maybe Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell can get some things going on the ground. Maybe they can get some things going with the read option between Hurts and his running backs. And then obviously with the cornerbacks being banged up, and then you got Dre Greenlaw out too, that's going to be able to help Jalen work the middle of that defense with like Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, and like Devontae Smith and all of his wide receivers. So I don't think this is going to be that hard for the Eagles to move the ball against the 49ers defense. I think they can take what the Lions were able to do in that fourth quarter and try to apply that to this game. And I think they're going to have some drives where they move the ball, but I do think they're going to be like drives that stall just because the 49ers still got some playmakers like Nick Bosa, Fred Warner on that defense. So it's going to be like, I think, a hit and miss day for that offense. And then we flip in the side of the ball with the 49ers. I think they're going to be able to move the ball pretty easily against this Philadelphia defense. I'm very surprised that the Atlanta struggled as much as they did. We'll have to see this Philadelphia defense because played just as good against this 49ers offense. I think they're between, they got Elijah Mitchell. I think we're going to see Trey Sermon this week. Let's see the inactive list tomorrow morning. But I think they're going to be able to move the ball on the ground. That's going to open up things for George Kittle. We saw Deebo Samuel have that breakout game. Maybe they get Brandon Ayuk involved. We'll have to see. I thought he was in the doghouse. Kyle Shanahan said he's not. We'll have to see about that. But either way, I like Kyle Shanahan's scheme enough where I think he's going to be able to move the ball efficiently. They're going to be in scoring position more times than not. I think that actually, I thought for a while throughout the week the 49ers would easily win this game. But now I'm kind of leaning towards, I think this is actually be a lot closer than what I think than most people may think. I think the 49ers barely squeeze out a win tomorrow. I think they win like a 28-24 win. I'm taking the 49ers. And then let's just keep it moving to the next matchup. We do got the Houston Texans, surprisingly, who won last week against the Jaguars. Heading up to Cleveland to face the Browns, who the Browns are coming off that rough end when it looked like they were going to upset the Chiefs on week 1. Starting with the injury report for the Texans, they only have 2 people on there. Farrell Brown is questionable with the ankle and shoulder, and Camus Grugier-Hill, if I butchered that, I apologize. He's questionable with an illness. And then on the Brown side, they're a little bit banged up right now. They did have to place Anthony Walker Jr. on IR with a hamstring injury. As a weekly reminder, people, if anybody gets placed on IR, the rule that needs to be permanent, they carried it over from last year. I don't know why they haven't made it permanent yet, but if they get placed on IR, they can return after 3 weeks. So it doesn't mean their season's over like it used to do in the past. And then moving on with the report, Chris Hubbard is out with a triceps injury. Odell Beckham Jr. is out with his knee injury. They're banged up on the line, obviously. Hubbard's out, and then J.C. Treader is questionable with a knee. Jarek Wills is questionable with the ankle. Michael Dunn is questionable with the back, and Anthony Schwartz is questionable with the knee. So that's definitely something you don't want to see, but maybe it's kind of a good week to be a little that banged up when you're facing the Texans. I know the Texans had that upset, and who knows? the Texans beat the Browns tomorrow, I'm going to have to eat my words, and I'm going to have to start acknowledging them as a decent team, I guess. But yeah, let's just start with the Browns. I thought they showed some really good things moving the ball with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt on the ground. I thought Baker Mayfield showed a really good day without Odell Beckham. I know he ended that day on the pick, but he got tripped up when he was trying to throw it out of bounds, like Tony Romo was mentioning in that game. So I think they're going to be able to efficiently move the ball. I think Nick Chubb's going to have a big day. I can see Kareem Hunt having a big day. And I think they're going to just, methodically march down the field and put up touchdowns throughout the day against this Houston defense. The only way I can really see it is, with all these injuries to their offensive line, it does sound, I think there's left tackle, Wills Jr., I don't think he's going to play. Hubbard's out, so they'll be down to their third left tackle. So if they could somehow attack that third left tackle, I could definitely see maybe some problems on the offense. But other than that, I think the Browns are going to score pretty easily against this Texans defense. And then flipping sides of the ball, Tyrod Taylor looked really good in his debut as a Texans quarterback, but he'll have a lot of a tougher test this week against that Browns defense, who's a much improved this year. You got Jadeveon Clowney going against his former team, so he's going to want to get revenge. Myles Garrett's there. I think those two are going to collide on Tyrod Taylor often tomorrow. I think they're going to be forcing sacks. I think they're going to force more turnovers. And I think this is going to be a very good day for the Browns defense. It's a home opener in Cleveland. I just don't see any way Houston goes in there and upsets them. I think the Browns handle their business. They win 10 plus points. I think the Browns are going to win like a 31-17 type of win tomorrow. And then I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next 1 p.m. matchup. We do got the Denver Broncos heading out to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. Taking a look at the injury reports for the Broncos. Graham Glasgow is out with a illness. Bradley Chubb is questionable with an ankle injury. Jonas Griffith is questionable with a back. And then Trey Herndon is out with this is the Jaguars report. Trey Herndon is out with a knee. Laurenti McCray is questionable with a hamstring, and Tyson Campbell is questionable with his calf injury. As far as this matchup, this is Broncos coming out that win, against the Giants last week, and they're going to be looking to carry that over against the Jaguars, who got their butts beat down by the Texans last week. So you're wondering who this team is really going to be now underneath Urban Meyer. Now, keep in mind, I always try to remind people, don't overreact to week one. But it's kind of hard not to when the Texans beat up on them that bad. So I really kind of don't see them having a chance in this game. I thought Trevor Lawrence showed some really great things, and then he showed his rookie moments where he has to learn there are going to be some windows in this NFL where you got to get that ball out of your hands sooner, or you got to understand you can't try to force that throw. That's things he's going to work through this year as he develops into a better NFL quarterback. I don't think the loss on him was on him last week as much as it was on their defense. Starting with the Broncos, let's just go ahead and do it. Starting with the Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater was very effective. They got things going between Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon last week, and I think that's going to continue against the Jaguars this week. I think they're going to do a little bit more ground and pound, and that's going to open up the play action where Cortland Sutton's going to get involved. I think KJ Hamler might get some deep touchdowns, and they're going to get Noah Fant involved. They're going to put up some points against this Jaguars defense. And then flipping side of the ball, like I said, I thought Trevor Lawrence wasn't the issue. They just need to get some things going this week, but it's going to be a very tough task. A top 5 defense they're facing. We'll see if Bradley Chubb can play, but if Bradley Chubb is able to go and they got Von Miller playing like he did last week, I feel bad for Trevor. He's probably going to be getting hit quite often tomorrow. And then he's going against a very tough secondary, so he needs those wide receivers to step up their play as well for him. And I just see a rough outing for Trevor. As much as I like him, he might have back-to-back opening in his career rough outings just because of just because of how last week went, and then he's playing one of the better defenses this week. I think the Broncos handle their business. I think they win I'll say like a 28-14 type of win for the Broncos. I'm just going to go ahead and keep this moving. We got the Saints traveling out to Carolina to face the Panthers. Let's start with the Saints report. The Saints are tied with the Colts for the most players on the final injury report. They did place Marcus Davenport and Quan Alexander on the IR. Davenport's got a shoulder injury. Alexander's got an ankle injury. And then these following players are also on the report. Eric McCoy is out with a calf injury. Pete Warner is out with a hamstring injury. Chase Hansen is out with a groin injury. I'm definitely going to butcher this kid's last name. I do apologize. It's KP. I don't know how you say that. Is it Capasagan? That's my best guess. He's out with a calf injury. Marshawn Lattimore is questionable. Capasagan, now I have to say it again. He's questionable with a calf injury. He's not out. Marshawn Lattimore is questionable with a hand injury. PJ Williams is questionable with a back injury. And CJ Gardner-Johnson is questionable with a knee injury. That's not great after week one. They're out Davenport, one of their top edge rushers. Eric McCoy is their center, and he's out. Marshawn Lattimore is their best cornerback, and he's questionable. PJ Williams, he's another D-back in their secondary, their safety. He's questionable, and their nickel back, who I really like, CJ Gardner-Johnson, is questionable. So super banged up heading into this matchup. And then when you flip to the Panther side, fully healthy. No players are on the final injury on the injury report. So Panthers are going to have their full arsenal of weapons heading into this matchup tomorrow. So I'm thinking, at first I thought I was going to pick the Saints, after what they did to the Packers last week. And after, I just wasn't overly impressed with Sam Darnold's debut. I think he showed some good things, but he wasn't overly impressive. But at the end of the day, they're pretty healthy. So let's just go ahead and get into this. Yeah, Sam Darnold, I think he's going to have a decent game again, at least. I think they're going to have the advantage of playing a banged up defense that's out one of their edge rushers. 3 players in their secondary are banged up right now. They lost Quan Alexander. So they're going to be able to pick apart this defense throughout the day. I think we're going to see a healthy dose of Christian McCaffrey. We're going to see Terrace Marshall work in the middle of the defense, especially if Gardner-Johnson is less than 100%. I think they're going to be able to take some deep shots to Robbie Anderson because of Lattimore being out. And with PJ Williams as well. And then also they're going to get DJ Moore heavily involved. I think they're going to move the ball pretty consistently throughout the day. But I think I see this offense, like it happened against the Jets last week for Carolina. They got to finish drives with touchdowns. They can't settle as they progress down the field. But I think they're going to be able to put themselves in a good position throughout most of the day. On the other side, Jameis Winston came out and balled. He balled out, but he still only had I think he had less than 200 yards passing, but he still had those 5 touchdowns. He's going against a Panthers defense that showed some promising things last week, but they were facing a Jets offense. This is going to be a lot better of an offense they're facing with Alvin Kamara playing like he did, especially if Jameis can continue what he did last week. So it's going to be a lot of a tougher task, but Eric McCoy's out, so they have to make some shifting on that offensive line. So maybe a Derrick Brown could beat up in the middle of the offensive line and allow guys like Brian Burns and Yetur Gross-Matos and Hassan Reddick to get after Sam Darnold. To get after Jameis Winston throughout the day. But I think we're going to see a nice little decent. The offense isn't as bad. I think they can adjust with McCoy being out. So I think the offense should be able to move the ball throughout the day against this Panthers defense. It's going to be a close game. It's a divisional battle. I think this seems like a game that's going to come down to who wins the turnover battle. To me, I wanted to pick the Saints, but the Panthers are at home. They're fully healthy. Saints are super banged up. I'm going with the Panthers in this one. I think they find a way to win in the fourth quarter. Maybe J.C. Horn, their first-round cornerback, gets his hand on the ball and pick sixes Jameis. Let's just say they win a 21-17 type of win for the Panthers tomorrow. And then moving on to the next game, we got the Rams traveling out to Indianapolis to face the Colts. The Rams are fully healthy, no injury designations. And then as I mentioned when I talked about the Saints injury report, the Colts are tied with the Saints for the most players on the final injury report heading into Sunday. Let's go through it. These 2 players are out, Xavier Rhodes with a calf and Braden Smith with a foot. And then these following players are questionable for tomorrow. Quentin Nelson with a foot and back, Eric Fisher with an Achilles, Kwity Paye with a hamstring, Kari Willis with a illness, Julian Blackman with a back, Paris Campbell with an abdomen, and Michael Pittman Jr. With an ankle injury. So obviously that's not setting up for success. That's the last thing you need when you're facing a Rams team that's coming off a hot start that they did against the Bears last week. The Colts got picked apart from Russell Wilson last week, and their offense couldn't get anything going. So as a Colts fan, I am definitely not looking forward to this matchup because it definitely is going to be a tough task for Indianapolis to pull this one off. Let's just go ahead and move on. Not move on, but let's go ahead and start with this. Let's go with the Rams offense. Let's start there. Matthew Stafford shows some great things. He's got a number of weapons he can spread the ball to. I think that can continue against this Colts defense. Like I mentioned, the Russell Wilson was able to play efficient ball and take deep shots throughout the day, especially with Xavier Rhodes being out. Now they have to depend on more of their backups to cover, like Robert Woods, a Cooper Kupp, a Van Jefferson. They're going to get Deshaun Jackson working in there, Tyler Higbee. So it's going to be a full team effort by the Colts to try to slow down this Matthew Stafford-led offense. But, I think he's going to have his moments where he's going to pick apart this defense and he's going to put them in a scoring position. They're going to find ways to put up touchdowns against the Colts. And then flipping the opposite side of the ball, the Colts just got to find consistency. It was more of timing with Carson Wentz and his wide receivers. Obviously, that offensive line needs to play better. I will say this: regardless of the outcome of the matchup, I'm looking forward to, because Quentin Nelson is going to play tomorrow, even though he's listed as questionable. I am very looking forward to the Quentin Nelson versus Aaron Donald matchup, as I put on my Twitter yesterday of the clip of the Godzilla versus Kong fight from that last movie that came out. That's how I anticipate it. They're just going to be both battling and tearing shit down on the field. So I'm looking forward to watching that. But if there is a recipe for success for the Colts to pull this one off, one thing I pointed out in my Colts Wire article that came out on Thursday, please go check that out if you haven't yet, is they gotta control the clock with Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines. The Bears averaged 5.2 yards per carry against this Rams defense last week. So if they're able to get the ground game going and be efficient and make those drives into touchdowns, and the defense can somewhat limit the Rams offense, that's their best way to pulling it off. But with that being said, I can't go with my heart on this. I gotta go with my brain. Rams came out hot. Colts came out slow last week. Colts are super banged up. Rams are fully healthy. Rams are going to win this game. Maybe the Colts come back and try to make it interesting in the fourth quarter, but I got the Rams winning, as I mentioned in my prediction that's coming out on Colts Wire today. Rams win 28-23 tomorrow. And I'm going to go ahead and keep it moving. We got the Bills heading down to Miami to face the Dolphins. Let's take a look at these injury reports. On the Bills side, Gabriel Davis is questionable with an ankle. Star Lutulele is questionable with a calf, and Ife Aboda is questionable with a calf injury. And then on Miami's side, Will Fuller has actually been ruled out because of a personal issue. Now, if you watched my start-sit video, I did list the wide receivers from the Dolphins as a sit because I wanted to see that situation play out. I'm going to go ahead and say this, guys. If you do have Jalen Waddle or Devontae Parker, since Will Fuller is ruled out, I would consider put him in your lineup if you need him. And then Preston Williams is questionable with a foot and knee injury. So, yeah, this is a very interesting matchup, right? So, the Dolphins squeezed out that win against New England to be 1-0, and then Buffalo lost to the Steelers last week, so they're 0-1. So, obviously, they need to get a huge win down there in Miami so they can get to that 1-1 record. I think the Buffalo offense is going to bounce back this week. I think for whatever reason, the Steelers got their number. The stats show that Josh Allen has had his worst games in his career over the last 2 years against the Steelers. So I think he's going to be able to bounce back. I mean, we saw what they did to the Dolphins at the end of last year. They completely torched that Dolphins defense in Week 17. So they kind of got their number, and I think that's going to continue on Sunday. I think you're going to see Josh Allen have a good day. I think they're going to be spreading the ball to Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley. I think Emmanuel Sanders is going to have a good day. I think they're going to be putting up some points tomorrow. And then on the opposite side, I thought Tua was up and down this past week. I want to see more of an effective game out of Tua. I thought we would be able to see that with the addition of Will Fuller, but we're going to have to wait and see whenever he comes back from his personal issue. But regardless, I think he's going to have a tough outing against this Bills defense, especially if the Dolphins offensive line is not able to step up and play well against the Bills defensive front. I think they're going to be able to put on pressure against Tua and force him into quick reads and force to get the ball out of his hands. And I just see a up and down day for this Miami offense. Now I think they're going to be moving the ball. I think they're going to put together some touchdown drives, but then I think there's going to be some drives where they go 3 and out, or they only get to maybe like the 50-yard line. The Bills force them to punt. So yeah, I just see the Bills finding the end zone more times than the Dolphins on Sunday. I think it's gonna be a little bit closer of a game because I think the Dolphins are going to be competitive, but I think the Bills find a way to get to that 1-1 record. They win like a 27-21 type of win on Sunday. And let's go ahead and keep this thing moving. We got New England traveling to New York to face the Jets. Let's take a look at the injury reports, starting with the Patriots. This one, I've been doing these injury reports for the last 3 years on my preview shows, and I swear I've never seen this one. Kyle Van Noy has been ruled out with a throat injury. That's kind of scary. I wonder what exactly is going on there. Quinn Nordin is out with an abdomen, and then these 4 players are questionable. Trent Brown with a calf, Yanni Kajus with a hamstring, Ronnie Perkins with a shoulder, and Jonnu Smith with a hip injury. And then looking at the Jets injury report, Jamie Sherwood is doubtful with an ankle injury, and these 4 players are questionable. Keelan Cole with a knee, Jamison Crowder with a groin, Chuma Edoga with an illness, and Isaiah Dunn with a shoulder. Yeah, so the Patriots, I thought is it Matt? I'm gonna go blank. Mac Jones. I almost said Matt. Mac Jones. I thought he showed some good things. You know, he was able to deliver some accurate throws and move the ball against the Dolphins defense. I thought he was going to have more struggles in his rookie debut, but I thought he was pretty efficient in that offense and finding the wide open guy. He put his team in a position to win that game, but obviously they need to figure out a way to turn those drives into touchdowns if they want to be a good team this year. But I think they're going to be able to work out some things against that Jets defense. The Jets defense is so banged up. They don't have that much talent. I think you're going to see a good day on the ground from Damian Harris. I think that's going to open up things, especially with if Jonnu Smith is dealing with this hip injury. I have a good sneaky feeling that Hunter Henry is going to have like 80-plus yards and a touchdown tomorrow. That's my DFS take of the week, I guess. I think Hunter Henry is going to have a good game. I think Mac Jones is going to have a good game, and they're going to be able to move the ball and put up some touchdowns against this Jets defense. And then on the opposite side, I thought Zach Wilson, I thought he showed some good things last week. I know he wasn't perfect. I know he's dealing with he was getting hit all afternoon because that Jets offensive line, especially with Mekhi Becton out for the foreseeable future, the kid's going to be running for his life. But man, that kid can flick his wrist and just deliver a deep shot like it's nothing. But some of those players were just dropping the ball. And then he's going to get some Bill Belichick-led defense. History shows Bill Belichick just plays mind games with these rookie quarterbacks. So I think he's going to have an up and down game. I think he's going to still show some good things. But I think he's going to throw some interceptions. I think Bill's going to get in his mind, and they're going to have a rough outing for most of the day on that offense. I think the Patriots handle their business there in New York. I think they win like I see them winning like a 24-14 type of win. 24-14. It came out of my mouth first. So let's go 24-14. Patriots find a way to win pretty easily there against the Jets. And then we are going to be moving into the last 1 p.m. game. We got the Bengals traveling out to Chicago to face the Bears. Starting with Cincinnati's injury report, these 2 players have been ruled out. Ricardo Allen with a hand and hamstring, and then Trey Waynes with a hamstring. And then these 2 players are questionable. Marcus Bailey with a knee, and then Darius Phillips with a thigh. And then moving on to the Bears report, Larry Borum is out with an ankle injury. Eddie Goldman is doubtful with his knee injury, and these 6 players are questionable. Jason Peters with a quad, Robert Quinn with a back, Marquise Goodwin with a quad, Joel I butchered it. I'm sorry, kid. He's questionable with a shoulder. Darnell Mooney with a back, and Nasimba Webster with a hamstring injury. Yeah, as far as this game, let's just start with the a sexier. I guess I want to say the sexier team. Like, are great, but the more sexier team in this matchup is the Bengals, right? Joe Burrow showed some really good things. We saw Jamar Chase break out in the scene in Week 1, which is promising. T. Higgins was looking good last week. Joe Mixon was looking good last week. Now that offensive line definitely has to improve in the interior, but Riley Reef and Jonnu Williams were showing some good things on the tackle presence. So they either need to like maybe sometimes keep Joe in there to help out with the middle of the protection. So Joe Mixon, that is, so he could protect Burrow and give him a little bit more time. But Burrow was being efficient. He was making the right reads, and he just looks like he's back from his torn ACL last year. So I think he's only going to get better as he gets more comfortable playing on that knee. And I think he's going against a Bears defense that completely got torched by Matthew Stafford last week. I think Joe Burrow is going to be able to continue his success from last week into this week, and he's going to be able to pick apart this Bears defense throughout the afternoon. And I can see his Tyler Boyd kind of had a quiet week last week. I can see his trio of wide receivers all having a good day against Chicago, and they're going to be able to put up some points. But I can see them struggling sometimes when they get down to that 20 into the red zone, because the Bears defensive front is still pretty good. So I think they're going to be able to get after Joe at some times, and if they can get after Joe and force him maybe into maybe some turnovers, that's how I can see Chicago mixing things up and keeping this into a closer game compared to what happened last week against the Rams. And then flipping sides of the ball, though, I mean, outside of David Montgomery last week, there was nothing promising from this Bears offense. The offensive line is already banged up, and their backup left tackle, Larry Borum's out, and then Jason Peters is questionable. So who's going to even be their left tackle tomorrow? I think that's going to set up for that Bengals defensive front, who showed some good things last week, to get some pressure on Andy Dalton. I know Andy Dalton's definitely going to want to get his revenge game against the Bengals, but I'm definitely not seeing that happening. I do think, though, they are going to be able to move the ball throughout the day. The Bengals defense by no means is perfect. We saw Kirk Cousins pick them apart at times throughout the day. But I think they're going to be able to get some pressure on Andy, just because their offensive line is so banged up, and they're going to be able to get some sacks and maybe force some turnovers. But I do think the Bears are going to be a little bit, I don't know what the word is I'm searching for, but they're going to be able to put up some points, I think, too. I do think this is going to be a little closer, but I lean towards Joe Burrow figuring out a way to put his team in position to win the game in the fourth quarter. I think Cincinnati goes into Chicago and wins the game, like a 21-17 type of win for Cincinnati. And then I'm going to go ahead and keep it moving. We got the these are all the 4 p.m. games. Now, the Eastern time zone, just in case anybody is anywhere from the Central to the Pacific Coast. But let's go ahead and keep it moving. We got Atlanta traveling here in Tampa Bay to face the Bucs. This was a very short injury report for both teams. On the Falcons side, Frank Darby has been ruled out with a calf injury. On the Bucs side, Carlton Davis is questionable with a hamstring injury. Yeah, this is going to be a probably quick preview, especially with the outing that we saw from Atlanta last week. Atlanta's defense could not stop the Eagles' offense for most of the day, and then we saw what the Bucs did to the Cowboys last week. That offense is looking like it's already in mid-season form, and I don't see that stopping against the Falcons defense. I think they're going to get things going on the ground game with all 3 backs. I think Tom's going to pick them apart with whoever just happens to have their day. You never know who it's going to be. It could be a Mike Evans. I could see it being a Mike Evans day since he had a quiet week last week. I think he's just going to take what's given to him, and he's going to pick them apart, and they're going to put up some points tomorrow. And then flipping side of the ball, that Atlanta offense, that was kind of rough for the majority of the day. They could not really get anything going. Their offensive line is not that great, and you got the very stout defensive front coming to they have to go up against. I don't see Mike Davis finding much running lanes to go through, and that's going to lead to a one-dimensional offense where everything's on Matt Ryan's back, and his only legit weapon right now, I mean, he's got two legit weapons, but Calvin Ridley you can count on, but they got to get Kyle Pitts more involved. Like, well, I don't know what exactly happened, but he's got to be more involved than what happened last week, so they can try to keep up with the Bucs, but I think the Bucs are going to soundly win this game pretty easily. I think they win by probably even a couple touchdowns, to be honest. I think it's like a 35-21 type of win for Tampa Bay tomorrow. I'm going to keep it moving. We got Minnesota traveling out to Arizona to face the Cardinals. Taking a look at the Vikings injury report, these 4 players have been ruled out. Anthony Barr with a knee injury, Harrison Hand with a hamstring, Christian Darrisaw with a groin, and Everson Griffin with a concussion, and then Eric Kendricks has been ruled questionable with a quadriceps. So, I mean, they're already out. Barr, Griffin, he's a rotational player at this point, but he showed some good things last week. And then Eric Kendricks is questionable, their best linebacker. So that's not great when you're going against a high potent Cardinals offense. And the Cardinals, Devin Kennard is out with a hamstring, and then Kelvin Beachum is questionable with the ribs. Man, where do I want to start? Let's start with the Vikings offense. I mean, they were able to move the ball against that Bengals defense throughout the day. They are going against this Cardinals defense that had a really good performance against the Titans last week. Now, my biggest concern for the Vikings offense is that offensive line didn't look that great at times. Their first-round pick, Christian Darrisaw, is out again, so he's not able to make his debut. So they're on a backup left tackle. We saw Chandler Jones get 5 sacks last week. He might get 5 sacks again this week, and I could see a big day from him. I could see a big day from J.J. Watt. But if the Vikings can, somewhat give Kirk some protection, we'll have to see. I mean, those Arizona cornerbacks definitely showed up in week 1. We'll have to see that can carry over into week 2. And if it can, maybe this Arizona's defense got something figured out, even though most people, including myself, thought the cornerback position could be a weak point on that unit. But I still think, regardless of like how bad the offensive line might be, the situation for Minnesota right now, I still think they're going to be able to move the ball at times throughout the day, spreading the ball to Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, getting the ball in Dalvin Cook's hands. I think they're going to have their times where they're able to put up some points, grab some touchdowns. But because of the issues on that offensive line, I think there's also going to be those stall drives. They're going to go 3 and out. They're going to get to the 50-yard line and be forced to punt just because they're not giving Kirk enough time to get the ball out of his hands. And then flipping sides of the ball, I mean, Kyler Murray was just ridiculous. Year 3, you guys know I picked him as my offensive player of the year, so I had high expectations for this year. And he started off with a bang, and he's going against a Vikings defense that got beat up by Joe Burrow last week. We saw what Jamar Chase did to their cornerbacks last week, so I think they're going to have a rough outing against DeAndre Hopkins and company. I could see a big game out of Rondale Moore. I don't know why. It's just my intuition just told me that. Christian Kirk can have a good game. I don't know. I'm having a sneaky feeling we're going to have a Rondale Moore show tomorrow for Arizona. I think they're going to be able to move the ball throughout the day. I think they're going to find themselves in scoring position more times than not. They just got to convert those drives into touchdowns. Arizona's the home team. I really like how they looked last week. I mean, maybe if Minnesota had Darrisaw in the lineup, and if Kendricks is out too, their best coverage linebacker too. So yeah, I think Kyler Murray's going to have a heck of a day. He's going to have a back-to-back great performances. I think Arizona does win. They're going to win I think Minnesota does keep it interesting though. I think Arizona wins 28-24 tomorrow. And I'm going to keep it moving. We got Tennessee traveling out to Seattle to face the Seahawks. Let's take a look at the Titans injury report. Their first-round pick, Caleb Farley, is out tomorrow with a shoulder injury, and then these 4 players are questionable. Bud Dupree is with a knee, Anthony Firkser with a knee, David Long Jr. with a hamstring, and Jayon Brown with a hamstring. So that's not good. The first-round cornerbacks out. Bud Dupree and Jayon Brown are questionable, the 2 of their key guys on that defense. And then taking a look at the Seahawks, their D. Eskridge is doubtful with a concussion, and then Rashad Penny is doubtful with a calf. And then these three players are questionable: Brian Maughan with an elbow, DJ Reed with a foot, and then Damian Lewis with a groin injury. Starting with the Seahawks, as I mentioned earlier, Russell Wilson looks like this new offense with their new offensive coordinator is going to be a little bit different this year, and they're going to be mixing things up. And we saw that last week, and Russell Wilson completely torched the Colts secondary, and we saw last week Kyler Murray torched the Titans secondary, and I think that's going to probably continue this week. I think we're going to see a big game out of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I think they're going to get Gerald Everett involved, and I think they're going to be able to get some things on the ground as well with Chris Carson, especially if Bud Dupree's less than 100%, as well as Jayon Brown. So I think the Seattle offense is going to be able to carry their success on offense into this week 2 matchup, and they are at home, so we know the 12s get pretty loud, and Seattle's always a tough team to defend, to beat in Seattle. So I think Seattle's offense is going to be able to efficiently move the ball, and they're going to be in scoring position throughout the day. Now that Titans offense was surprisingly bad last week. I mean, let's just be honest. There was like nothing promising. Didn't see much out of Julio. AJ Brown had an all right day. They bottled up. Derrick Henry was bottled up, and Ryan Tannehill was just under constant pressure throughout the day. So we'll have to see if this Titans offense can bounce back. The Seahawks defensive front definitely showed some good things to get some pressure last week against the Colts, and if they can do that against the Titans defense like Arizona did last week, that's not going to bode well for the Titans offense. Now, the Titans' best thing they can do is get Derrick Henry going. Because if they can get Derrick Henry going and play clock control and keep that 12s, their crowd very quiet throughout the day because they're converting drives into touchdowns, that's how they can make things interesting. And they still can be that high potent offense with Julio and AJ Brown. But like I mentioned, they have a lot of a tougher task going out to Seattle. I would maybe see more of a bounce back win where maybe they can pull off the win if this was in Tennessee. But with it being in Seattle, I just don't think they're going to have enough. I don't think they showed too much of anything of a promise for me to pick them this week. So I am going to pick the Seahawks as go start the season off at 2-0. I think Tennessee plays a lot better than last week, but Seattle is just too much for them in the fourth quarter because of Russell Wilson. They win like let's go with like a 31-27 win for Seattle. And then I am going to the last 4 p.m. game for tomorrow. We got the excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. We got the Cowboys heading out to Los Angeles to face the Chargers. Starting with the Cowboys injury report, DeMarcus Lawrence is out with 6 to 8 weeks with a broken foot. And then Ty Nexkey is out with an illness injury. Donovan Wilson is questionable with a groin. And then DeMonte KZ is questionable with a thigh injury. And then on the Chargers side, Brian Bulaga, their right tackle, has been placed on IR with a groin and back injury. And then Justin Jones is doubtful with a calf injury. And Nasir Adderley is questionable with a groin injury. Let's start with the Chargers. I thought they showed some good things last week against that Washington football team. I thought Justin Herbert showed some good things throughout the day. Showed that last year definitely was not a fluke as he worked that football team secondary, especially working with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. They even got Jared Cook involved, and I think that's definitely going to continue. On Sunday, as we saw, the Cowboys defense got completely picked apart against Tom Brady in week 1, and now they're out their best edge rusher, DeMarcus Lawrence. They don't have depth at the position, and the Chargers offensive line is much better this year with the addition of Rashawn Slater. Now, it definitely hurts that Brian Bulaga is out now for some time, but they're luckily they're facing the Cowboys, like I mentioned, who just lost Lawrence. So I think Justin Herbert's going to have enough time to pick apart that Cowboys offense. I think Austin Eckler is going to be heavily involved and have a good day. Mike Williams is going to have a good day working against that secondary, and I think that's going to be a good performance by Justin Herbert tomorrow. And then flipping sides of the ball, Dak, man, he was really, let's be honest, that guy was really great in his first game coming off that gruesome injury. He put that team in position to beat the Bucs. It's just that their defense could not slow down Tom Brady with a minute left, right? So We'll have to see if that can continue on Sunday. They are going against a little bit of a tougher defense, but Chris Harris is out, right? Justin Jones is doubtful. Nasir Adderley is questionable with a groin injury. So I think Dak's going to have a pretty good game tomorrow. I think he's going to work with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb to put up some yards. Now they need, like, with Michael Gallup being out for some time, they're going to need like a Cedric Wilson, maybe one of those tight ends to step up. They really need Zeke. I think the best way the Cowboys can win this game is with Zeke. They need to get him 20 plus touches tomorrow, and get him heavily involved. And they need to play not only like, put up those yards with Dak, but they kind of need to. I wouldn't say the Chargers are a team you need to play clock control, but I think when your defense is that bad, when your defense is that banged up, you have to help that defense out. So their best thing they can do is get Zeke heavily involved, play somewhat clock control, put up touchdowns, and just see if that defense can they have to take some risk and try to force some turnovers. But with that being said, I just think they're too banged up on defense that I think Justin Herbert's going to be able to pick them apart throughout the day. I think it's going to be a really close matchup that comes down to the fourth quarter, that comes down to who has the ball last. Usually pick the better quarterback, and I think right now Dak is over Justin, but Justin, I think, can eventually take over him at some point in the future. But I'm having a tough time with this one. I was leaning towards the Cowboys all week, but that DeMarcus Lawrence injury kind of makes me lean towards the Chargers. Chargers are at home. Let's go with LA. They win let's go with a 24-21 type of win for Dallas. Now, this might be a quick one, guys, this Sunday night matchup as far as my pick, just because I feel so bad for the Ravens and all the injuries they're dealing with. We got the Chiefs traveling out to Baltimore to face the Ravens on Sunday night. Chiefs are fully healthy. That's not good. Because the Ravens are banged up. They lost. Everybody knows about all the injuries they already lost. Let's take a look at their injury report heading into the week. Derek Wolfe is out with a back and hip injury. And then these following players are questionable. Ronnie Stanley with an ankle. Dalen Hayes with a knee. Marlon Humphrey with a back. That's not good. Your best cornerback's banged up. Jimmy Smith with an ankle. Right now your best backup or your second cornerback's hurt. And then Devin Duvernay's questionable with the groin. I'm probably gonna be quick with this, guys. I think KC's it's gonna be a bloodbath. Let's be honest. Their secondary is so banged up right now. Tyreek Hill is going to blow up. Travis Kelce is going to blow up, and a guy like McCole Hardman or Demarcus Robinson is going to blow up against this Ravens defense just because how banged up they are in the secondary. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for 300 yards, 3+ touchdowns on Sunday night. And then with the Ravens, their left tackle, Ronnie Stanley, is questionable, and I think it sounds like he's not going to play. So if you got a backup left tackle, they're going to line up Chris Jones on that side, and then Andrew Villanueva was awful last week. That's why, and then you're going to be able to put Frank Clark on that side. They're going to be able to collapse that pocket on Lamar Jackson throughout the night. I mean, literally, if the Ravens are going to win this game, Lamar Jackson's going to have to be a superhero. And they're going to have to score with a touchdown on every drive, and that defense is going to have to somewhat contain Patrick Mahomes. I don't see that happening. I think the Chiefs win pretty easily. I think they're going to win like a 31-17 type of win against Baltimore. I could be wrong, but I just don't see that happening for Baltimore. I feel bad for you guys. You're dealing with too many injuries this early in the season. Let's go ahead and move on to the Monday night matchup. We got the Lions traveling to Green Bay to face the Packers. Now, these are not the final injury reports. That will come out today, so stay tuned for that. But taking a look at their injury report for the week, as of yesterday, Kevin Strong did not practice with a concussion, as well as Tyrell Williams with a concussion. If you guys hear whatever that noise is behind me, I do apologize about that. Sounds like either the trash people are here or something with a large engine. And let's go ahead. These following players have been limited for Detroit. Michael Brockers with a shoulder. Trey Flowers with a shoulder. Romeo Okwara with a shoulder. DeAndre Swift with a groin. And Jamal Williams with a chest. Taking a look at the Packers injury report, Zadarius Smith has been placed on IR with a back injury, but they still got Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary. And then these two players have not practiced. Both of them have concussions, Josiah DeGuara and Lucas Patrick. And then these following players have been limited. Tyler Lancaster with a back and ankle injury, Darnell Savage with a shoulder, and Vernon Scott with a hamstring injury. As far as this matchup, I mean, we saw the Lions. They fought back against the 49ers last week, try to make that a game. They almost really did. They could have recovered the onside kick. We saw the Packers completely look lost on the opening matchup. And, if anything, the Lions showed more promising things than the Packers did last week. But I think that's not going to be much to carry into this matchup. I think we're going to see a very motivated Packers team, a very motivated Aaron Rodgers. And I think I mentioned this on, I think it's Streamable Defenses, one of my previous fantasy videos this week. Please go watch those, by the way, if you have not. But I think doesn't this sound like it's Monday night? Can't you just see Aaron Rodgers just picking apart that Lions defense? He's going to be smiling, double discount checking. Devontae Adams is going to get like 70 plus yards, a touchdown or two. Aaron Jones is going to have a good day on the ground. I just see a very positive outcome for the Packers offense. And then I think if you flip sides of the ball too, like I think the Packers defense is going to have a bounce back performance. I think you could see J.R. Alexander getting a couple picks in this game. I think Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith can get after Jared Goff and force him into those early throws, which results in turnovers. We saw that last week when he threw his pick. So I think, and I just don't think the Lions have enough on the offense to play in a shootout with Green Bay. I think Green Bay wins this pretty easily. I think they win like let's go with a 28-17 type of win for the Packers on Monday. So yeah, that's my week 2 preview video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please hit that like button. If you didn't, just don't tell anybody about it. I steal that from Pat McAfee. I love how he words that a lot better than me. But yeah, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe so you can keep up with all my latest content. As always, go check out the Prospect Encyclopedia at prospectencyclopedia.com. And then other than that, I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. I hope you enjoy all the matchups tomorrow. If you have any fantasy questions, feel free to @ me at Cody Talks NFL, and I'll get those for you. Or if you have any NFL questions in general, you guys enjoy your weekend, okay?